I sat in my seat, dizzy from hunger. My classmates said that after the midterm exams, their parents would reward them with a pair of sneakers worth 3,000. I was so jealous that my eyes turned red. With 3,000 yuan, I could buy 6,000 steamed buns. Eating 3 a day, I could have food for 2,000 days. I wished I could rip those shoes off her feet and replace them with an endless supply of steamed buns. One day, someone found me and said I was the real daughter who had been switched at birth. My deskmate warned me. Since you're the real daughter, there must be a fake one. The fake one has been raised by their side for so many years, she definitely won't treat you kindly. I smiled brightly, as long as I don't go hungry, that's fine. It would be even better if they could dazzle me with money, I'd be more than happy. I was taken back to Ashford, and the butler explained the situation of Ashford. Ashford has 2 children, one is the switched at birth imposter heiress Leah, and the other is the eldest brother, Ethan. Leah is good-looking, smart, and speaks sweetly. The family couldn't bear to part with her, so they publicly claimed we were twins. I had just gotten out of the car when Ethan looked me up and down and said, "So you're the little beggar?" I didn't say a word, simply walked past him and headed into the house. Ethan, not liking being ignored, followed after me and said, "A beggar is a beggar, don't think that just because you've entered this house, I'll acknowledge you as my sister. My only sister is Leah. From now on, whatever Leah says, you listen, whatever she tells you to do, you do it. If you behave, I'll treat you like a dog and keep you around, if you don't, you get out of my sight immediately." I didn't even glance at him and walked to the door, which was pulled open from the inside. Locking eyes, I saw a girl around my age. She warmly grabbed my hand. "Sis, I'm Leah. Mom and Dad have been waiting for you for so long." Leah has much higher emotional intelligence than Ethan. One is the real young master, and the other is the fake young lady, there's still a bit of a difference in status. Leah led me inside, and Mom came over, hugging me emotionally. "Elena, you're finally home. I've missed you so much. Dad, it's good to have you back, it's good to have you back. Our family is finally reunited." Their reaction made me feel like they truly cared about me. Leah suddenly burst into tears. "Mom, Dad, now that your family is reunited, I, as an outsider, won't disturb you." After saying that, she pulled out a suitcase from the corner. Ethan stopped her. "Leah, it's not you who should leave." Mom released me and comforted Leah. "Leah, you're also my daughter, we are all family." I asked, "Are you really leaving?" Leah nodded. I abruptly kicked open the suitcase, only to find it empty inside. "Leah, at least you know your place. This home has nothing that belongs to you." Mom and Dad stared at the empty suitcase, stunned. I pushed Leah out the door and shut it. Ethan immediately flew into a rage and lunged at me. "Mom, Dad, let's bet. If we open the door, Leah will definitely be kneeling on the ground. They say she has enjoyed 18 years of love from her parents, and before leaving, she wants to kowtow a few times before going. After she finishes kowtowing, she'll pretend to faint and refuse to leave this house." "Ethan, what nonsense are you talking about? She is our parents' daughter in the first place. Mom and Dad, don't forget that 18 years ago in winter, her parents swapped the babies, letting Leah enjoy 18 years of affection while leaving me on the roadside nearly freezing to death. Any normal person would feel heartache for the hardships their biological daughter endured for 18 years. After I finished speaking, I opened the door to find Leah kneeling at the entrance. "Mom and Dad, you've raised me for 18 years, and I have no way to repay you. Before I leave, I want to kowtow to you as a gesture." After Leah finished speaking, she kowtowed, oblivious to the grim expressions on our parents' faces. She finished kowtowing and fainted. I deliberately stomped hard on the back of her fair, delicate hand. The pain made her eyelids twitch, yet she still didn't wake up. Ethan felt sorry for Leah and pushed me aside, then carried Leah upstairs. I watched them head upstairs and made my way to the dining table. I came to this household to eat, not to swallow my anger. Whoever makes me uncomfortable, I'll make them even more uncomfortable. They had clear intentions, driven by the benefits my academic results could bring. My goal is to focus on studying during the critical senior year of high school and obtain good resources. At the dining table the next day, Dad announced that Leah and I were in the same class and that Leah would help me get familiar with the school. Ethan failed 2 exams and didn't do well. This is his second year of repeating a grade. After the meal, the driver took us to school. Ethan deliberately left me at the entrance and had the driver drive away. It takes 20 minutes to drive to school and over an hour to walk. I don't have a penchant for self-torture, nor do I want to waste time, so I call my dad. A few minutes later, the driver returns and opens the car door for me. "Miss, please get in." I appreciate the driver's sense of timing and treat Ethan and Leah like air. When the car arrives at school, Ethan and Leah leave me behind and go their separate ways. The mouth under my nose isn't just for eating, it can also speak. I knock on the principal's office door. Seeing it's me, the principal warmly asks which class I want to join. Soon, I'm taken to the classroom by the teacher of the top-tier class. "Hello everyone, I'm Elena." Upon hearing my name, a round of enthusiastic applause breaks out. With my ranking as the top scorer in the city, I have a free pass at school. I spent half a day getting to know the class's study routine and getting along well with my classmates. Just after class ended, the teacher approached me and asked if I wanted to participate in the physics competition. I knew about this competition. It required a 3,000 yuan registration fee. If I placed in the top 5 in the city, I could advance to the provincial competition. Those who performed exceptionally well could then compete at the national level. This competition was not only a bonus for college entrance exams but also offered a path through special admissions. Back then, I couldn't afford the registration fee or travel expenses, so I couldn't participate. But now that I have the money, I immediately signed up. The teacher opened a green channel for me, and even though the registration had closed, my name was still added. Because we were participating in the competition, after school, the teacher gave us special tutoring for those of us who had signed up. By the time the discussion ended, it was already 10 p.m. During this whole time, not a single phone call came. They really don't take me seriously. I didn't hold back, I called my dad. Dad had just finished his social engagement and came to pick me up personally. In the car, I noticed Dad didn't look well, so I took out the competition entry form from my school bag. "Dad, this is the physics competition entry form. It needs a parent's signature." Dad looked puzzled. "How did you get this?" "The teacher gave it to me." Registration is already closed, but the teacher squeezed me in. "Which teacher?" "Sophia." "Sophia? The Sophia from the advanced class for seniors?" "Yeah." "Did you get into Miss Sophia's class?" When I arrived at the school, I didn't know which class I was in. I went to see the principal, and the principal asked which class I wanted to join. In the end, I was placed in the top class. My school records were transferred to the school, and it was handled by the teachers as well. Transferring schools was one thing, but transferring school records, something even my dad couldn't manage, was resolved on my very first day. Dad was pleased and gave me a bank card with 200,000 inside. Ethan and Leah tattled to Mom. Seeing me and Dad chatting and laughing as we walked in, they were so furious their noses nearly twisted off. "Sister, you didn't go to school all day today. Mom was so worried about you." Leah started her sugar-coated yet insincere talk. I looked at her without saying a word. "Dad, Leah, when we left this morning, I told you to show your sister around the school. You couldn't even handle such a simple task?" Leah felt wronged. "Dad, I wanted to show my sister around the campus, but she didn't want to." "Is that so?" My stomach rumbled. "Mom, I'm hungry." Mom took my hand. "You haven't eaten yet?" I nodded. Mom asked the servant to prepare a meal and brought me some fruit to hold me over first. Ethan shouted loudly. "Mom, don't be fooled by her. She's been messing around outside all day, hanging out with shady people, and ruining our family's reputation." Dad slapped him. "It's your sister's first day at school, and as her brother, you don't even know how to take care of her. Ethan got hit and disliked me even more. I thought Mom would feel sorry for him, but it seemed like her eyes were only on me. Elena, no one bullied you on your first day at school, right? No, my new classmates were all very nice to me, and the teachers were good to me too. Seeing how much her mother valued me, Leah said. Sister, if you want to go out and have fun, you can just let the family know. Out playing alone this late, don't you know we were worried about you? I smiled. If you were worried about me, you could have called. Leah looked down. I don't know your phone number? Oh, how cheap your concern is. Tears welled in Leah's eyes. Sis, how can you say that about me? What should I say? We live under the same roof, and you don't know my phone number? Your birth parents never raised you for a single day, yet not only do you have their contact information, but you also send them money? Using my parents' money to support your birth parents? No matter how she explained, Leah's words felt feeble and inadequate. I eat my meal, and seeing Leah eat her anger makes me feel extremely comfortable. After finishing my meal, I pat my butt and go upstairs, leaving the mess for them to handle. After taking a shower, I see it's still early, so I take out a test paper and finish it before resting. Ethan and Leah come to vent their anger on me. Ethan. Elena, don't be smug. Sooner or later, I will drive you out of my home. If you know what's good for you, you should explain things clearly to Mom and Dad and admit that everything that happened today was your fault. Leah, sister, did someone bully you, causing you to lie on purpose? I couldn't be bothered to talk to them any longer and shut them out. Ethan tried to lay a hand on me, but I simply slammed the door shut, leaving all the noise outside. The next day at school, I had my own dedicated driver. Ethan and Leah weren't too happy about it. I made use of the 20-minute commute to solve a few major problems. Arriving at school, I walked into the classroom with my backpack. Ethan and Leah followed right behind me the whole way. When Leah saw me walking behind Caleb, the top student, she was so furious she could grind her teeth. Just as I entered the classroom, someone called out to me, Elena, take a look at this question. I always feel there's something odd about it. I took a look, took out a pen and circled a word. The other party's eyes were immediately full of admiration. Elena, I love you. I pushed her away. I don't have this hobby. What about the top student? The school's undisputed heartthrob. He was the top student before I came, now it's his turn to step aside. I laughed boldly and uninhibitedly, meeting Caleb's gaze. I know him, he participated in a competition yesterday. Seeing him in person, he truly is a handsome guy. Too bad, I'm here for the scholarship. Only by defeating him can I secure the scholarship. Turns out, the scholarship at my old school was only 5,000, but the scholarship at this school is a whopping 100,000. 100,000. Thinking about it is really exciting. Now I have rich parents, so I can sign up for various competitions, getting one step closer to my goal. I walked toward Caleb. Caleb, I heard you competed in a competition yesterday. Was it fun? Caleb pretended to be deaf and pulled out his exam paper to study. I like his cool demeanor, but I like his exam paper even more. I took a photo with my phone, planning to buy the same model. Just as I was about to put my phone away, someone grabbed my wrist. Delete it. The classmate knew Caleb's temper and hurried over to mediate the conflict. Caleb, Elena is new here, she didn't mean any offense, so just delete it. Caleb repeated. His temper was just like that of the watchdog at the orphanage. Fine, I'll delete it. I called my dad. Dad, can you help me get this year's newly released International Mathematics Competition papers? I want to sign up for the math competition, this set of exam papers has great reference value. Dad immediately agreed when he heard it was about signing up for a competition. Right in front of Caleb, I deleted the photos I had just taken. Caleb continued with his work. A classmate pulled me aside and asked, was it you who took the photos? Not Caleb? Caleb is indeed handsome, but I'm not that shallow of a person. Good that she isn't, good that she isn't. You don't know how many times the campus belle has shown interest in the academic genius, but he kept rejecting her. Campus belle? Who is she? Leah. She's extremely popular at our school, she's beautiful, and when she speaks, she always. She's my fake sister. She's your sister? Not by blood. We were mistakenly switched at birth, true and fake heiresses. My parents found me and brought me back, but they couldn't bear to part with Leah, so they publicly claim we're twins. Classmates marveled at the real and fake heiresses, but only Caleb's gaze toward me was different. At noon, my dad brought me the World Championship test papers I had asked for. Elena, you know Caleb, you're quite close with him? We're in the same class. Get along well with him from now on. Yeah. His father and I are business partners. He's the one who gave you this test paper. I'll thank classmate Caleb in a moment. I smiled and sent my father off, grumbling inwardly that the plan was so transparent it was practically written on his face. Classmate Caleb, I'm sorry, but I have to take advantage of you. Turning around, I see Caleb standing not far away. Caleb, thank you for the World Championship papers. I'll treat you to lunch at noon. How about we discuss the competition then? You want to participate in the competition? Yeah. To get into your ideal military academy, having good grades alone isn't enough, you also need a key to open its door. The two of us walked under the sun, discussing matters about the competition together. Leah heard from a classmate that her father had arrived. She rushed out and, seeing me with Caleb, was so jealous it looked like her eyes were about to pop out. Huh, isn't that the top student? Who's that classmate next to him? Elena. Leah gritted her teeth. Does she even deserve to stand beside our top student? Only you deserve to be by his side. Leah suddenly had an idea and whispered a few words into her classmate's ear. Before long, Leah and her classmate stood at the entrance of the honors class, holding 20 cups of milk tea. She looked at everyone, showing a faint smile. Hello, classmates. The students in the advanced class were highly aware, during breaks, everyone was studying. Some continued with their homework, while others glanced disdainfully toward the source of the voice. I'm Elena's sister, Leah. My sister just returned from the countryside and doesn't know the rules of our school. If she has done anything wrong, I apologize on her behalf. Caleb and I were discussing a problem, and hearing such pretentious words made me almost roll my eyes to the sky. Caleb let out a sudden laugh. Leah thought he was laughing at her and quickly handed him a cup of bubble tea with both hands. Caleb, I bought this bubble tea especially for you. I watched Caleb, curious about his reaction. He pressed his pen hard against the table, his face tense as he said, Elena, are you going to listen or not? Yes, Caleb, please go on. I put on a sycophantic expression, wagging my tail like a poodle. The classmates all laughed. Not long ago, I mentioned my relationship with Leah, and the way the classmates looked at her changed. Feeling neglected, Leah brought a milk tea over to Caleb, accidentally knocking it over. Splash, half of the written test paper was ruined. Caleb, I didn't mean it. Leah bit her lip, looking wronged. Her move works on both old and young alike. I exclaim in shock, Leah, this is the World Championship paper. It's just a test paper, why are you yelling at me? Leah says, tears falling at just the right moment. Her words expose her ignorance. The World Championship paper is hard to come by, yet Leah doesn't even know and thinks it's just an ordinary test paper. The looks from those around Leah grow even more disdainful. A fake heiress putting on such an act is truly disgusting. A classmate yelled at me, Elena, take your family's trash and get out of here, don't disturb our studies. I stood up and saluted toward them, yes, class president. Caleb crumpled the test paper into a ball and threw it into the trash can. Caleb, my sister doesn't know how to speak properly. She offended you, and I apologize to you on her behalf. Leah pretended to be understanding and thoughtfully handed another cup of milk tea to Caleb. I don't accept drinks from strangers. Leah hesitated to speak, as if she had suffered a great injustice. I took the milk tea from Leah's hand, took a sip, and said, it's not poisoned. Everyone can drink without worry. My classmates rose one after another to get the milk tea. I took another cup and brought it to Caleb. I thought he wouldn't take it, thinking to myself that I could drink 2 cups of milk tea. 1 cup of milk tea cost 8 yuan, which equaled 16 steamed buns. I was getting a great deal. Unexpectedly, Caleb actually drank it. "Didn't you say you didn't want any?" I asked, my voice rising in pitch. "It's just a cup of milk tea, why so stingy?" A cup of milk tea costs 8 yuan, which equals 16 steamed buns. If I eat 3 a day, that can last me for 5 days. Students at the private high school had little concept of the value of a few yuan. Hearing that Elena could survive on it for 5 days, they suddenly felt the weight of the milk tea in their hands. They were no strangers to me, the teacher had repeatedly used me as an example in lessons for them. They knew I was an orphan, aware that orphans face many hardships, but never imagined someone could live on just steamed buns every day. Someone exclaimed loudly, "Oh my, Leah bought 20 cups of milk tea, which cost more than 3 months of your living expenses." Leah thought the classmates were looking down on me, not realizing it was blatant mockery. A fake heiress showing off wealth in front of the real heiress is simply asking for humiliation. "Caleb, I never knew my sister had such a hard life before," Leah said, reaching out to take Caleb's hand. "Don't touch me, I find it disgusting." I watched Leah being humiliated with pleasure, then pulled out my phone and opened my payment code. "Come on, everyone who drank the milk tea, scan and pay up. We're all going to be respectable, influential people in the future. We can't risk losing face over $8. I'm poor, I lack money, and it's all written on my face. What others think of me, I don't care." Some classmates were actually going to scan the code, but in order to show off, Leah grabbed my phone. "Elena, you're really embarrassing Ashford. So, I'm asking you for the money, you spent Ashford 160, transfer it now." Leah felt that 160 yuan was an insult, so she transferred 500 yuan to me. Upon receiving the notification for the 500 yuan transfer, I happily announced to everyone, "This noon, it's on me, steamed buns for everyone, as much as you want." The classmates called me stingy but still thanked me. As the class bell rang, the teacher arrived. "Classmates, the lesson is starting. Those not involved in this class, please leave." Leah and her followers slunk away in disgrace. I was so happy I could have floated away. I wished Leah would come a few more times, it would really top up my little savings. After school in the afternoon, I stayed back in the classroom to study on my own. My phone buzzed with a transfer notification. 100,000 yuan had been transferred. Seeing that 100,000 in my account, I happily waved my phone around. "Classmates, I'm treating everyone today, 1 bag of chips each. Let me know if you want some." Seeing me, once a broke kid suddenly flaunting my newfound wealth, everyone rushed to sign up. After tallying the orders, I headed out to buy them but stopped at the door. "Student Elena, you're not regretting it, are you? Chips are way more expensive than steamed buns." "Ah, what do you know? Sister is a wealthy person now, buying these things would take 20 minutes. By using a delivery service, I can solve several extra problems." "Student Elena, since the teacher is running an errand for you, why not buy me a pack too?" I arrived home in the evening. My parents were waiting in the living room. Leah had tears in her eyes. Ethan looked at me as if he wanted to devour me. I knew someone had complained again. I took out an application form and asked Dad to sign it. "Dad, I need your signature on the math competition registration form." Dad was thrilled and signed it with a flourish, then transferred me 100,000 yuan. I happily linked arms with my mom and cooed sweetly, "Mom, I heard that eating dumplings before a competition brings good luck and symbolizes success. Mom, can we have dumplings tomorrow?" Dad's hand trembled as he held the registration form. "The competition is tomorrow, and you bring back the form today?" I chuckled. Thanks to Caleb. The preliminary round of the math competition ended, and he helped me cut in line. Seeing how obedient I was, getting along well with Caleb, Dad was pleased. The next day, my parents personally took me to the competition to meet Caleb. Dad's flattering smile looked like an old chrysanthemum. I deliberately acted close to Caleb as we walked into the exam hall together. "Caleb, my dad is paying. Let's split it 50-50. "No need. My treat. A cup of milk tea? Or a bag of potato chips? This time, I'm definitely treating you to a meal. What are we eating? I'll splurge just this once and treat you to ramen." Caleb smiled. I shouldn't have expected anything from a cheapskate. A bowl of ramen for 10 yuan is already a luxury. Caleb thought of my 5-cent steamed bun, so 10 yuan was a luxury for me. Walking into the exam hall and seeing top students from all over gathered together, I felt excited. This is my first time participating in a competition, and I'm feeling nervous inside. The moment I saw the questions, I thought, it's no wonder it's a competition, they're on a different level compared to regular exams. These questions are challenging, but they won't stump me. When I saw the final major question, I got excited. It's a quite difficult question, involving aspects of military affairs. In order to get into my ideal military academy, I've been working hard in this area. Today, I finally got to see this type of question officially, and I was so excited that I rubbed my hands together. The invigilator saw my actions, thought I couldn't do it, glanced over, and quickly moved away. After walking around, he returned to my seat again, saw that I was almost done writing, and took another look. Seeing my problem-solving approach, he got a bit excited. The other invigilators thought someone was cheating and came over to take a look, only to be amazed by me. My entire focus was on the questions. After finishing, I realized 3 proctors were standing nearby. I gave them a slight smile and began reviewing my answers. After checking them once over, I confirmed there were no issues. I sat quietly in my seat, waiting for the exam to end. Once time was up, I handed in my paper and left. Stepping out of the exam hall, I saw Caleb. He had also finished early. We exchanged a glance and walked toward each other. "How does it feel?" "A little more difficult, but still manageable." "So confident?" 10 years of sharpening a single sword. Stepping out of the examination hall, my parents were still waiting for us. Seeing us come out together, Dad excitedly waved to us. I felt embarrassed, but for now, he was my provider who could also offer quality resources, so this slight dissatisfaction was acceptable. "Mom, Dad." Dad smiled kindly and asked, "How did it feel? Was there any pressure?" "A bit." Thankfully Caleb explained this type of problem to me in advance, so I did okay on the exam. "Caleb, you've worked hard. It's time for lunch now, shall we eat together?" Dad said, glancing at me. "Caleb, let's go." I grabbed Caleb and we walked away. Caleb's family driver was right there, and the car door was already open. "Send me the location." "All right, I'll wait for you." I eagerly sent Caleb off into the car like a devoted assistant. After seeing Caleb off, I got the location and sent it to him, then took my parents' arms and got into the car. When we arrived at the restaurant, Caleb hadn't yet arrived, so I sent a message, "Where are you?" "On the way, arriving soon." Seeing how well Caleb and I got along, my parents became even more generous towards me and transferred another 100,000 to my account. For the sake of 100,000, I played the role of a dutiful daughter. When Caleb arrived, they told me to actively approach him and even intentionally created opportunities. Real parents wouldn't stoop so low. The math competition had just ended, and the physics competition was about to begin. This time, the competition wasn't held locally, we had to travel to a city hundreds of miles away. Without my parents keeping an eye on me, I could finally let myself go completely. Originally, I was only participating in the physics competition, but the neighboring school happened to be taking part in another competition at the same time, so the schedules conveniently didn't overlap. After asking for my opinion, Sophia signed me up anyway. I ended up joining a few more competitions as well. Caleb has a debate, but he's not feeling well, so Sophia pushes me to go up instead. As for debating, I have no experience in this area, and I'm feeling a bit stage fright. Seeing the disdain in the opponent's eyes reminds me of those orphanage incidents. I think of the opponent as a pig and just say whatever feels comfortable, not even knowing myself what I'm saying. At the end, when I saw the defeated look on the other side and watched Sophia and Caleb applauding me from below the stage, I still felt baffled. Afterwards, when I watched the replay, I realized I had managed to scold without using any vulgar words and left the other side speechless. Even I was impressed by my ability to improvise on the spot. Just as I left the venue, I received a call from my father. That's when I found out the debate was broadcast live, and my sharp demeanor had reached audiences all over the world. On the way back, Sophia told me that the debate competition had actually been registered in my name. She hadn't mentioned it earlier to avoid causing me pressure. I looked at Sophia and then at Caleb. In some ways, both of them had an air of mystery about them. Transfers, changes in student registration, and even pulling me into competitions where registration had been closed several times, they seemed to have the ability to make anything happen. This sense of mystery made me aware that they had identities beyond what I knew. I had my suspicions but didn't voice them out loud. After all, I am the one benefiting now. With the resources provided by my parents and such wonderful classmates and teachers, my future can be looked forward to. When it comes to competitions, after the first one comes the second. I performed excellently every time and more opportunities came my way. I am even more grateful that my wealthy parents found me. Returning home and receiving rewards from my parents, my smile grew even brighter. Leah's jealousy could no longer be concealed, and my parents scolded her several times. Ethan wanted to stand up for Leah, but he either got scolded by our parents or had to endure my constant disregard. Ever since I returned to this family, I've always treated Ethan like he was invisible. I know perfectly well that Leah is not the real heiress. No matter how I treat her, our parents won't truly get angry. Ethan, however, is different. At first, my indifference made him think I was afraid of him, but later, when he realized what was going on, he was so furious he could have burst, yet there was nothing he could do to me. The results of the mock exam came out. My score tied for first place with Caleb. Some classmates thought that since I had just transferred schools and had recently participated in many competitions, my performance had dropped from first in the city to tying for first with Caleb. What I didn't say was that I controlled my score. Caleb brought me into this, and I kicked him out. Is that a bit like betraying my master and turning my back on my roots? This was just the first mock exam. Later on, for the second and third mock exams, I controlled my scores every time. Before the holiday break, the last exam results placed me tied for first place with Caleb again. My parents celebrated for me and invited Caleb to join. Leah attended in her finest attire, making me look like a mere green leaf next to her. Caleb arrived a bit later. As soon as he walked in, Leah greeted him as the lady of the house. "Caleb, you've arrived." I sit in my seat, wearing headphones to listen to English. I'm using the winter break for an intensive study, preparing for the IELTS exam. In the midst of listening, my shoulder suddenly feels a heavy tap. I see Caleb, take off my headphones, and pull out the chair beside me. Caleb sits down and hands me a set of test papers. "Take a look at this." I open them and glance through a few pages. "Are you doing this on purpose? Are you sure you don't want it?" "It's a necessity." "Yes, why wouldn't I want it if it's free?" "You." Caleb was speechless. Leah couldn't stand Caleb being nice to me and, feeling wronged, clung to her mother's arm, saying, "Mom, isn't this a bit inappropriate for sister?" Her mother gently patted her hand, comforting her as she said, "You're classmates after all. Go sit next to him, you'll have things to talk about." Leah, blushing, tried to sit next to Caleb. Caleb spoke to me but pulled the chair aside with his hand. "This seat won't work, my dad is going to sit here." Hearing that Caleb's father was coming, my parents immediately upgraded us to a private room. All the ordered dishes were changed, replaced with various imported delicacies, as if there were no limit to what they could order. I've long grown accustomed to their fawning behavior, so I'm not surprised. When Caleb's parents arrived, my parents gave up the main seats and warmly welcomed them. After greeting Caleb's parents, I continued discussing questions with Caleb, who thoughtfully served me dishes. Everyone noticed this. Caleb's parents smiled with joy in their eyes, and my parents also beamed so widely that their eyes nearly disappeared. Leah was so angry she was about to cry, and Ethan was busy comforting her. Everyone was busy, leaving only Caleb and me undisturbed. These two children seemed to get along very well. Since both families are here, why don't we arrange a marriage for them? Caleb's father had just spoken when Leah suddenly stood up. I don't agree. Caleb's parents looked at Leah. And who might you be? The adopted daughter of the family, Dad explained. Leah looked at Dad in disbelief. Adopted daughter? Caleb's mother glanced at Leah and then at me. Do Elena's parents treat their adopted daughter better than their biological one? Dad said, Leah has always cared more about appearances, unlike Elena. She doesn't mind these things and is more focused on academics, especially competitions. As parents, we're really proud of her. Caleb's mother nodded approvingly. Caleb said Elena studies very hard and gets along well with her classmates too. You're too kind, Caleb's mom. Children love learning, and as parents, we naturally give them our full support. The two families chatted happily, while Leah was ignored like a clown. Ethan tried to console her, but it didn't work, and Leah ran off in tears. Ethan wanted to chase after her, but his mother stopped him and made him sit back down. After Caleb and I finished discussing, I noticed someone was missing. When I glanced over, Caleb asked me which university I plan to apply to in the future. This is my secret, and I won't tell anyone. I just smiled and asked, what about you? My aspirations might be a bit different from others. What a coincidence, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is it possible that we'll become classmates? We talked about what would happen after the college entrance exam, and our parents had even arranged our marriage along with Caleb's family. On the way home, my dad, who was drunk, excitedly mentioned my marriage to Caleb, and I was completely stunned. I am on site. Why didn't anyone discuss this matter with me? I sent a message to Caleb. Do you know what my wealthy parents said to me? They talked about marriage between you and me. Did you know about this? There was a long silence from the other side. Are you busy? After a while, he replied, no, I was just on a phone call and didn't hear it. I'm not aware of the matter you mentioned, but don't worry, they were drunk and their words shouldn't be taken seriously. My parents' calculations are practically hitting me in the face. I just wanted to kindly remind you. I understand. I won't refuse my parents, after all, they are currently my means of support. Understood. My mother, sitting in the back, asked me, Elena, Mom and Dad feel for you and want to give you the best. You understand all of this, right? I nodded, Mom and Dad, I know you both have my best interests at heart. I asked Caleb because I wanted to know his thoughts. My parents exchanged a glance. What did he say? I laughed. He said he understood, but didn't give me a specific explanation. My parents laughed. You silly kid, he's just being shy. You sent the message, so he had to reply. Before the start of the school term, I received a message from Caleb. By the time I saw it, half an hour had already passed. Would you like to have a meal? Do you have time? If it's inconvenient, never mind. I looked at the text message. Caleb wants to invite me to dinner? I thought about it but couldn't figure out why. Are you serious? Was the message sent to the wrong person? Caleb, just tell me if you have time or not. Seeing that Caleb was getting annoyed, I replied, yes. It would be foolish to pass up a free meal. Do you think I'm stupid? After a while, Caleb sent me the location and time. Not long after, a knock sounded at the door. Mom came in carrying a fruit platter. Elena, we're having dinner with Caleb's family tonight. I'll come get you when it's time. I agreed, and Mom happily left. Soon after, Leah's cries came from next door. I went back to working on my problems. I didn't care about anyone or anything at Ashford. I planned to use Ashford as a stepping stone to leap straight into my ideal military academy. In the evening, my mother called me, telling me it was time to leave. I put on the clothes she had prepared for me, and we hurried to the restaurant together. Caleb's family had only invited my parents and me. My parents wanted to bring Ethan along to broaden his horizons, while Leah was left behind, as they feared she might cause trouble. As we were about to leave, I felt thirsty and went to get a drink. I noticed Leah looking very nervous, which made me suspicious. On purpose, I picked up a glass of water and then put it down, which made Leah even more anxious. Upon hearing that Leah wasn't going, Ethan took the opportunity to come over for a drink and asked me to speak up. I blocked with my body, and Ethan, caught off guard, picked up the cup and drank. Elena, Leah wants to go too. Tell Mom and Dad, just say, PFF. Ethan couldn't hold it in and let it all out. The entire living room was filled with a foul smell. Leah grew restless and uneasy. Mom and Dad were most concerned about their son, braving the stench to check on him. Before Ethan could say a word, he rushed to the bathroom. There are many traces left on the floor. It looks quite disgusting. Mom didn't mind and busied herself back and forth. When Ethan came out of the bathroom, he had changed into a new set of clothes. Pointing at my nose and yelling, "Elena, how dare you give me laxatives? I'm going to beat you to death." Dad looked at me coldly and said, "Elena, what's going on?" I calmly replied, "Dad, this glass of water was originally for me, but he took it from me. In this house, who is the one who least wants me to go out for dinner tonight?" Leah's face instantly turned pale. "Sister, what do you mean?" That was a confession without being asked. Mom looked at Leah in shock. "Leah, how could you?" Dad got angry and slapped Leah. "Leah, I'm so disappointed in you." Leah covered her face in grievance and began to cry. "Mom and Dad, how can you not believe me? Since that's the case, I'll just leave. I didn't want to let things go just like that. Take the cup for testing. The doctor will give us the answer. The cup has drug residue and fingerprints, and the doctors are professionals. They'll know as soon as they check. We can check the surveillance footage, look at the drug purchase records, and if all else fails, we might find drug residue in the trash can." I blocked all of Leah's escape routes, and she couldn't take it anymore, collapsing to the ground. No proof was needed, the truth was now clear. Ethan didn't attend the banquet because he wasn't feeling well. My parents and I arrived at the agreed-upon restaurant. Caleb's parents warmly welcomed us and agreed to hold an engagement banquet for Caleb and me after the college entrance exams were over. My parents repeatedly agreed. When we got home, they discussed the details of the engagement. Mom and Dad were worried Leah might cause trouble, so they made her board at school until the college entrance exam was over. This was practically a form of exile. Leah cried and said she couldn't bear to leave her parents, but Mom and Dad hardened their hearts and remained unmoved. For once, Ethan didn't speak up for Leah. I needed to focus all my energy on preparing for the college entrance exam and the IELTS test. Their issues were outside my circle of concern. In the meantime, I also had to take part in the finals for math and physics. The finals were international in scope and carried a lot of prestige. This will determine whether I can attract the attention of the military academy ahead of time. On the day of the college entrance exam, my parents prepared an exquisite breakfast. I didn't eat and went straight to the exam hall. Ethan wanted to eat, but seeing me like this, he didn't touch his chopsticks either. We arrived at the school, and Caleb was waiting outside the exam hall. As soon as I got out of the car, he handed me steamed buns, which I devoured hungrily. Seeing this, my parents' expressions changed slightly. When Ethan saw me eating, he also felt hungry. I ate one bun, and there were 4 buns left, so I gave 2 to Ethan. He took the buns, his face slightly flushed. The college entrance exam is different from previous tests. If you're hungry, you definitely won't perform well. After finishing the buns, we walked into the examination hall together. Our parents, seeing us enter, immediately hurried home. On the way, they encountered a servant going out to throw away trash. Our parents waited until the servant left, then took the items to the hospital. They quickly returned to the exam hall once more. Mom and Dad began to suspect that something was off with Ethan's repeated underperformance in both college entrance exams. We hadn't even left the exam hall when they received a call from the hospital first. Unable to wait for the end of the college entrance exams, Mom and Dad drove Leah out of Ashford and sent her back to her biological parents. Her biological parents pressured Leah into getting married in order to earn a dowry. The college entrance exam results were released. Dad kept refreshing the page to check the score, while Mom paced anxiously back and forth. Ethan, acting like an experienced veteran, remained calm and unperturbed, as if a dead pig isn't afraid of boiling water. When it was time to check the scores, I slowly walked downstairs. After entering the exam registration number, the screen displayed that the score was shielded. This was within my expectations. When it came time to check Ethan's score, Mom and Dad grew even more excited. Ethan's score was 20 points above the first-tier university cutoff. Mom and Dad were so thrilled that they hugged each other. Ethan sneered coldly, feigning indifference. I watched him climb the stairs with awkward, uncoordinated movements. Soon, my phone rang. It was an encrypted number, and I answered it with great excitement. Even after hanging up, my heart continued to pound wildly. Another call came in, and I answered it calmly. Aside from a slight emotional response when speaking with Sophia and Caleb, I remained mostly composed. Mom and Dad's phones kept ringing non-stop, their faces glowing with excitement. Suddenly, a group of people appeared at our house, each of them dressed in military uniforms. This is the uniform I yearn for the most. I have imagined how dashing I would look wearing it, and what kind of responsibilities and mission I would shoulder. As I enthusiastically envisioned the beautiful future, my parents turned pale with fright, thinking I had gotten into trouble. The other party stated their purpose, asking me to leave with them immediately and instructing my parents to keep my whereabouts confidential. I knew that leaving this time would mean essentially going missing. After graduation, my whereabouts became even more mysterious. My college entrance exam scores may be hidden, but the benefits for my parents won't be any less. Mom and Dad hugged me excitedly. Ethan ran downstairs. "Elena, thank you." He found out about what happened on the day of the college entrance exam. If it weren't for me, he would have ended up like the previous 2 times. I thought I was just too nervous and had diarrhea during the exam, but it turned out I had been drugged. "You have a talent for sports, you can develop in this direction." This was the first time I spoke to him after returning to this home. Ethan excitedly stepped forward and hugged me. "I'll listen to you." After bidding them farewell, I boarded an armed vehicle. Finally, I could enter the military academy I had long dreamed of, and my heart was filled with excitement. When I arrived at the military academy of my dreams, Caleb was there as the representative welcoming new students. We exchanged a knowing smile. Several years later, in an ancient manor on the outskirts of London, the Ashford and Cavendish families jointly held a grand celebration. The lawn of the manor was covered with flowers, and the air was filled with the mingling fragrance of roses and sea breeze. Elena stood tall in her crisp, deep blue military uniform, the eagle insignia on her epaulets gleaming under the sunlight. Having graduated from that mysterious military academy, she had become the youngest major instructor. Returning from multiple missions, the medals adorning her chest spoke of her legendary achievements. Standing beside her was the equally spirited Caleb, who had chosen the same path. Together, they stood on the academy's podium, serving as role models for countless new cadets. The wedding took place under the setting sun. There was no extravagant display, only the closest family members and comrades in arms. Dad and Mom stood at the forefront, their eyes filled with pride and contentment. They finally understood that true wealth wasn't money, but their daughter finding the life that truly belonged to her. Ethan, as the best man, rarely smiled. All these years, he had followed Elena's advice and turned to the path of sports specialization. Now a member of the national team, he had completely left behind the shadow of repeating a year. He raised a glass of champagne to his sister. "I'll never forget those steamed buns from that day's college entrance exam." As for Leah, she had long been sent back to her biological parents. At first, she resented and struggled, but time softened everything. She married an ordinary boy she had grown up with and lived a peaceful life. Occasionally, she would see updates about Elena on social media, no longer with jealousy, but with a complex sense of relief. She finally understood that some things simply can't be forced. After the ceremony, Elena and Caleb stood side by side on the terrace of the estate, gazing into the distance at the Thames. The setting sun stretched their shadows very, very long. "Do you remember?" Caleb asked quietly. "That bowl of ramen you said was a luxury." Elena smiled, her eyes sparkling with a sly light. "Now I can afford something even better." "No," Caleb said, holding her hand, "I still prefer the way you were back then, your eyes full of light, gritting your teeth and climbing higher." Elena leaned against his shoulder and whispered, "This light now is not mine alone." In the distance, fireworks bloomed, illuminating the entire night sky. Caleb and Elena embraced, Ethan raised his glass in a cheer, and comrades cheered and applauded. All grudges vanished with the wind, leaving only new beginnings. At last, they had all found their rightful place.